Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. How's everybody doing today? It's Friday, the end of the week, the end of the traditional work week, but not for us. We have shows tomorrow and Sunday. Rob Evan, fantastic actor, singer, songwriter, Broadway veteran, co-creator of Rocktopia, and a good friend of mine. I've interviewed him multiple times on public television. He's joining us here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And the one and only legendary game show host, TV host, actor, singer, songwriter, John Davidson is with us on Sunday, also at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Today, we've got veteran television, film, and stage actor Bob Ayder joining us. And we're so excited. We're going to talk about his amazing career. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to bring you guys in, our lovities who like to comment during the show. We welcome you if you're commenting during the show. We also realize there's folks who like to watch the Jim Masters Show live, entertainment lifestyle talk show series, and sometimes they don't comment. They just like to kick back and watch. And you know what? You are welcome to do that as well. You don't necessarily have to comment, but if you do, we love it as well. And we also have Super Chat where we extra highlight comments, and there's super stickers and emojis, some new cool things that YouTube is doing, which helps support the show as well. One of the biggest things you can do, if you haven't, is subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the channel you're watching right now, Jim Masters TV. Subscribe. We would love that. And click the notification bell. And you probably ask, why do people say that? That's because that way you're notified. You get a little notification whenever we do a live episode, which is usually every day. And sometimes you do surprise pop-up shows and other videos as well. So clicking the notification bell keeps you in the know and you never miss anything, because I know a lot of you do like to watch when we do things live. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Master TV. Click that notification bell. On YouTube itself, give a thumbs up to this episode, the video, which is this one you're watching right now, and any of the other episodes that you've enjoyed on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV and the Jim Master Show Live. YouTube loves when people do that. So click that thumbs up and drop a comment too, not just during our live chat, but also drop a comment on the actual YouTube channel. That really helps us as well. Thanks for all the great comments, all the tagging. We actually have a waiting list of guests now, which is amazing. I'm bowled over by that we actually have a long line of guests waiting for dates for them. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Everybody seems to be enjoying what we're doing here. The levity, the light, the levity, everything we're doing in a good spirits. Great guests we've had all weekend long, last week, all week this week, and great guests coming up this weekend too. We toast everybody in style. We welcome you to JMS Live, our entertainment lifestyle talk show series. Hope you're doing well. Cheers to you and yours, and we wish you all the best. Thanks for joining us on a Friday, whether you're watching again live or Memorex. If you're watching this later in the archives, it's always a treat to have you guys here, and we thank you so much for being with us. We have a lot of great folks who are tuning in literally from all around the world. Of course, as always, we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show Live, and subscribe if you can to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Click the notification bell. We say hello to all the lovities watching all around the world, all the fantastic lovities. Tell your friends about the show. And we say hello to each and every one of you. We're going to check in with more of our guests' wonderful love coming in here, and our love of our lovities. That's what we call our viewers who are our faithful. They're called lovities because in the summer I said light, love, and levity just a little too fast. stumbled on it and came up with the word levity. And it's been fantastic. Very excited to welcome my special guest to the show, Bob Ayder. Again, he is a brilliant television, film, and stage actor. I said he was doing it for 50 years. He said, actually, Jim, it's been 60 years, which is amazing considering he's only 29 years old. It's just the way it works in our business. We know the people to call. And he's just amazing. My pleasure to welcome him to the show right now. Bob, thanks for joining us, veteran television, film, and stage actor extraordinaire. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How have you been during the land and year of COVID and everything else that's been happening? How have you stayed connected?
It has not been my favorite time. I can tell you that. It's been far from my favorite time. You know, like 70% of my resume is live theater.
Yes.
And even though virtual is nice, I need the actual warm bodies out there who laugh and applaud and do all those things.
So since you haven't had the warm bodies laughing and applauding, what have you used in place of that? Do you have mannequins in the house or something?
That's it. That's right. I have mannequins all set up there. You know, I do a good 5-10 minutes, and some of them actually laugh, which is really weird. And Rod Serling was outside narrating the whole thing. But yeah.
Do you remember that fantastic episode with the sales clerk who went up to the top level of the department store and all the mannequins were there? And it seemed like the mannequins came to life and it scared her. She ran downstairs trying to tell the rest of the staff that there's mannequins that are upstairs that are actually moving and talking. And at the very end, it turns out she was one of the mannequins herself.
I remember that. Yes, I've seen all those. Whenever there's a Twilight Zone marathon on, I watch it religiously. I love that show.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, speaking of that, my friend, I have said to so many people, I think the only people that could have scripted something like this, the pandemic, the civil unrest, the political craziness, and the economic downturn around the world, would be Rod Serling or Steven Spielberg or Stephen King.
Yeah, definitely. I would lean towards Stephen King with this one.
Because this one is very funky. So 60 years. I know I said 50 and we shaved off 10, but you've worked hard for the extra 10. 60 years. My God.
Yeah, I started out as a
congratulations.
Fetus,
you started out, yes.
Most of us did, but I just started right away in show business as a fetus. It's like educational films for doctors. I
was just about to say the OR surgical channel. When you started out in this business as a fetus, were you union by then or still non-union?
No, I was actually non-union until the age of 7 when I had to join a union. But so I was a non-union fetus. Right?
You're a non-union fetus upgraded to a union toddler.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you are a.
Well, in Lithuanian they would call me an alta kaka. That's what.
It's going to be one of those nights, folks. Sit back, strap in, and watch those color teenies fire through the air like Tom Snyder, the great talk show host and news anchor, used to always say. So how did you get started in the business? For those who are watching, who know you well, but maybe they don't know the backstory. Maybe they've seen you on stage, TV, film, or perhaps they're seeing you for the first time. How did you first get started? I mean, what were the inspirations for you? Was it a familial thing? Were there people in the family that...
Nobody, my parents were not show business parents. It was a very interesting thing. I have to take you back to Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Way back. I'm 4 years old. And usually at that time I was with my older brother, Jack, who was like 7 years older than me. And for some strange reason, I would stop total strangers in the street and ask them, "You want to hear me do Elvis Presley?" And then I would sing Hound Dog, shaking my legs like spaghetti, doing the worst Elvis impression of all time. My brother Jack, who was hanging out, got jealous. And he, for some reason, was a tap dancing prodigy, even though at this point he never had a lesson. And so he got up and started tap dancing.
Yes.
And he was really good. He would watch all these old shows back in the 50s, like the Pinky Lee show
Yes.
and Your Show of Shows, Texaco and all that. They had a lot of tap dancing on
yeah.
television in those days. And he would emulate it, but he would get it down. I mean, it was almost like Savion Glover today, you know.
Yes,
And,
right.
so there were some relatives said, you know, you should take him for like tap lessons to a professional tap teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of years later, and this now I'm around 6 years old, we found a tap teacher, and my mother schlepped me along. It was in Manhattan. We lived in Brooklyn, but we had to go to Manhattan to find this tap teacher. And my mother schlepped me along, and the first class, they had live piano. And for some reason, I knew all the songs, even though they're all songs written before I was born, songs from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I just got up, you know, with absolutely no fear and started singing, causing a ruckus, you know. And
You remember the song?
yes, On the Sunny Side of the Street.
Perfect choice. Yeah.
So I'm singing On the Sunny Side of the Street, and the tap teacher, a guy whose name was Oliver McCool, and he was a real Broadway character. He looked like a Damon Runyon version of Fred Astaire, you know.
What a name, too. Oliver McCool.
Oliver McCool. And he stopped everything, and he figured, okay, I'm going to teach this little kid a lesson. And he brought me up to the middle of the floor. He says, okay, you're going to sing the whole song for everybody. He expected me to freeze. So I get the intro on the piano. I sing the entire song from beginning to end. Everybody applauds. And he goes, okay, I give up. I'm going to bring you up once every class to sing. And it started that way. Now, in the class, there were a lot of show business people. As a matter of fact, one of the students was a very young Bernadette Peters. And some of the people there said, well, you know, he has some ability there. And they recommended like a singing teacher, an acting teacher, and even a couple of agents. And I started training. I started singing lessons, acting lessons. And a year later, well, actually the same year, there was a guy at the tap class. His name was Joe Cavallero. He looked like a young mafia don in training, literally slicked back hair, sharkskin suit. And he comes up to my mother one day and says, do you think Bobby would like to be on television? And she says, sure. He says, well, this is nothing much. It's a non-speaking thing, but it's on a show called The Naked City. And they want a kid to like play in a playground. And, you know, and that was my first job. I was 6 years old.
Wow. Wow.
And this is a long time ago. Eisenhower was president at this time.
Eisenhower was president.
Yes. I mean, so it does go way back. It goes way back. And I continued studying, and I continued with my lessons and all that. And I started getting auditions.
Mm-hmm.
One of which was for, now this is like a year later, I'm 7 years old, was for a show called Juniper and the Pagans. It was a Broadway show. And the audition was very interesting. I auditioned for the director and a few other people. The director was a man by the name of Bobby Lewis. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So already I'm starting out with the big time here. You know, the man who started the Actors Studio and was in the, you know, the Guild Theater, and, you know, eventually wound up being the chairman of the Yale Drama School. And it was a very strange audition. He said to me, because the play was a comedy, it wasn't a musical. And he said to me, do something like either sing or dance. So I didn't know what to do. And I, you know, didn't really know how to dance. But I remembered at the tap class, some people would be doing a soft shoe to the tune of T for Two. So I started like half singing, half humming T for Two, and trying to emulate some kind of soft shoe step, and they're all laughing their behinds up there. And, you know, so my mother's in the wings thinking, oh, he's making a total fool of himself, but he's a little kid, he can get away with it. We totally forgot about it. And then a couple of weeks later, I had a call back. And I got a script, you know, and I was auditioning for the role of a little Mexican boy named Juanito. And I had to read the sides at the audition for the same people. And then a couple of weeks go by and we totally forgot about it. And what happened was, this is very memorable to me because it's like one of the great memories. My singing teacher was a woman by the name of Tess Weber. and she taught a lot of the kids to sing, with personality and all that kind of stuff. She had a couple of adult students. One of it at the time was Elliot Gould, was one of her adult students. Well, anyway, she had this recital, and she saved me for last. I was singing "Yes, Sir, That's My Baby," and I gave it all I had, and got nice applause. And I'm about to sit back down in my seat, and the agent who had sent me on Juniper and the Pagans grabs me by the hand before I can sit down and announced that I got the show. Well, I totally freaked out. I can tell you, I was kissing her. I was kissing my mother. I was kissing the furniture. I was kissing anything that wasn't running away from me, basically. And that's it. That was my first experience. And it was, the show was like I said, directed by Bobby Lewis. It was produced by the notorious David Merrick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
And there were a lot of veteran actors in it. And the star was, do you remember David Wayne by any?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. He was the star of it. And it was written by John Patrick, who had written Tea House of the August Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured this was going to be a big hit. And we opened up at the Colonial Theater in Boston. Really good reviews by the critics. The audiences loved it. And then we go to Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, this is where everything started going wrong. One of the things that happened is that at the end of the play, it's like there's a religious festival. And besides playing the role of Juanito, the little Mexican boy, I was also an angel in this religious festival. And they had a harness, it had a little white robe and harness with metallic angel wings. And you pull the strings and the wings would go like this, right? And they attach a cable to the back of the harness. I'm going to do like a Mary Martin right now and go 15 feet up in the air. So that's when everything worked well in Boston. When we had our last tech rehearsal in Philadelphia, we're practicing this move.
Yeah.
And I'm up 15 feet in the air, and I'm looking down, and I'm pulling the wings and everything like that. And I said, okay, bring the kid down. And nothing happens.
Uh-oh.
Said, bring the kid down. And the guy goes, I don't know. I can't get him down. I'm flipping the button here to switch. Nothing's happened. I can't get the kid down. So I literally started freaking out. And my mother's looking like, oh my God, my 7-year-old child is about to die. But they rescued me. And the other thing about Philadelphia at that time, this was a show about Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very apropos at that time to do a show about Mexico in Philadelphia, because Mexico and Philadelphia at that time had one thing in common. You couldn't drink the water.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
And everybody was warned about the water, and by the production stage manager. Everybody thought he was kidding. So about half the cast, within 24 hours, wound up with a tremendous case of Montezuma's revenge. Including the one live animal we had in the show. We had a burro, a donkey.
The animal as well? Now, you know, if it affects a donkey,
This was a very gentle donkey. I used to ride on the donkey and all that. The donkey went crazy, went loco from the water, started chasing people up the dressing room stairs and biting them. And of course, when the donkey got on stage, being that it had the water, it was like navigating a minefield. Let's put it that way.
Now, if you had a cell phone back then and recorded the donkey doing that and uploaded it onto the internet, you would be a multi-millionaire. With that video going viral of a donkey chasing people in the studio and trying to bite them because of water. So were you doing the same as a result of the water? Were you chasing people trying to bite them?
My mother and I actually took the stage manager seriously, and we did not drink any of the Philadelphia water, so we were fine. So we survived that.
Did you at least get a cheesesteak or a hoagie out of the deal?
No, we would eat in Chinese restaurants and eat chicken chow mein. But the thing is, Philadelphia was cursed the show, because a week after we opened, and this was a show that was doing really well. It was really a wonderful production. And Bobby Lewis called us all together and said, ladies and gentlemen, the show is not coming into Broadway. We're closing here in Philadelphia. And all the adult actors were furious, because they knew it was a terrific show. And it seems that we never got a real answer why the show closed in Philadelphia and would not be brought to Broadway. But David Merrick was a very, very successful producer at that time. And from what I understand, he had 2 shows out of town. And the other show, I think, was a little bit cheaper to produce. Ours was much more of a spectacle. And so he only had 1 theater available to him in New York. And so he closed our show. And that was the end of that.
What did that lead to from there?
Well, what it led to is I thought that was the end of my career in show business.
I thought that was it, right?
Yeah. Because pretty much nothing happened until the summertime. In the summertime, there was suddenly a gigantic open call for every actor in the business to be background players in the film West Side Story. And West Side Story was shot mostly in Hollywood, but the first 12 minutes of the film was shot totally on the streets of New York. As a matter of fact, it was shot in the area which is now Lincoln Center. It was a bunch of old condemned buildings that were about to be torn down so they could build Lincoln Center. And so we were like background, and I worked for like 3 days on the picture, and there were dead rats lying all over the place, and it was a pretty dangerous set. The dancers were getting injured left and right.
Boy, if people only knew what you go through to provide entertainment, angry donkeys trying to bite people and all of what you're describing now. I mean, it's like
my whole career is dotted with stories like that.
I was going to say, you could write a book on it all, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not as easy as it seems, folks. It's made to look easy. That is something. So you were saying you thought that was the end of the career, but then
but within a couple of months after that, I started getting auditions, and I auditioned for a show called All the Way Home. And this was written. It was a show produced by Fred Coe, and directed by Arthur Penn, who, as you know, would go on to direct Bonnie and Clyde. And he had already directed The Miracle Worker on Broadway and An Evening with Nichols and May. And the year before that, he had done 2 for the Seesaw.
Yeah.
And so I had like 5 callbacks. And this one took place in the South. It took place in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1915. And Fred Coe, the producer, and obviously the director too, liked me a lot because they kept calling me back.
Yeah.
But finally, I was informed that I didn't get the show. But there was a fringe benefit, though, because Fred Coe had been a very big producer in the early days of live television, like Philco Theater, Playhouse 90. And he had a lot of connections in the business at that time, in the television business. And he decided because he liked me so much, he wanted to give me a little bit of a gift. He called up the producers of Peter Pan, which was going to be videotaped, the second production of it in 1960 with Mary Martin. And basically, they just interviewed me and said, "You've got the job." So a couple of weeks go by, and I'm in the first day of rehearsal of Peter Pan. And before I can do anything, we suddenly get a message that the agent who had sent me on All the Way Home said, "Stop everything." One of the boys who had gotten All the Way Home, obviously for some reason in a couple of weeks had a spurt of growth, got too tall for the part, and they said, "Okay, we want Bobby now." So they negotiated to get me out of Peter Pan to go right into rehearsal for All the Way Home. And do you know who the kid who I replaced was? Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas, who was John Boy on the Waltons on CBS. Wow.
Yeah.
Among other great roles he's taken on in his career. Wow. That's something, huh?
Right.
Were you pinching yourself?
Yes, I was pinching myself. And this show basically changed my entire life because I loved being in showbiz. I thought it was fun. I just enjoyed it tremendously. I had such a great time. It was a lark for me. But All the Way Home was such a great experience because first of all, it starred Colleen Dewhurst, who was not that well known. She won the Tony for the show.
I miss her. She was just such a fantastic actor.
One of the greatest actresses of all time.
And I love just listening to her speaking voice.
Oh, she had a great voice.
Just her voice And I forget that, one time she and George C. Scott were together.
That's right. They were
Um,
they were
two,
like
two
Richard
very
Burton and Elizabeth Taylor
strong
before
two
them,
very
right?
strong cups of coffee. Two
Yes.
very strong cups of coffee. She was in a very, very beautifully produced. I remember because I was co-hosting segments that were in support of this series. I don't know if you saw it on PBS when she was in Anne of Green Gables.
I think I might have seen that. Yes.
And it
Yeah.
was a series on PBS that she was in, and she just knocked it out of the park.
Oh, she was
Really
fantastic. Yeah.
unique, right? Unique. So,
Mhm.
wow, that's amazing, huh, for you?
Right. And Lillian Gish was also in the show.
Oh my God. It's another
I
one.
think I might have sent you a photo of me with Lillian Gish.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were
And,
pinching yourself. You still probably have the black and blue marks on you now from all the pinching.
that's right. Exactly. And the thing is that she, for some reason, took a liking to me. And I was 8 years old at the time. She was 67 years old when we worked together. And she was absolutely beautiful. I had a crush on her, literally. And I would come to her dressing room all the time, and she would talk to me about. Now, this is a kind of politically incorrect, but I was 8 years old. I didn't know what Birth of a Nation was back then. But she talked to me about working with Mr. Griffith, who was D.W. Griffith, and
Right.
she didn't get into the part of Birth of a Nation being a totally racist film.
No,
She just
no.
talked about working with him on it and how she learned about, and she wound up directing films after that. And,
Yeah.
and that she told me he basically created modern motion picture making. He did all the, he worked everything out, the angles and, cutting from one scene to another, build up suspense, all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like a willing student. I just sopped all this up,
Right.
And a very special thing that happened is on our birthday, she learned the birthdays of every kid in the show. There were about 6 kids in the show. And she gave them, she would go to FAO Schwartz because she could afford it.
Yes.
Yeah. And she would get a specific gift that she thought was appropriate for that child. So one of the kids got like a chemistry set, another got a history
I used
book.
to get those, the chemistry sets and
She
all.
got me a junior theatrical makeup kit.
Wow.
Now that is what's known as validation.
I would say so, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. All the Way Home is the show that changed me from a kid in the business to being an actor. Literally.
An actor, yes.
Yeah, an actor. And I in my one-man show, I talk about this, and I might as well tell you too, because to me, it was like a religious experience. We opened in New Haven originally.
Long Wharf or Schubert?
At the Schubert, yeah.
Schubert, yeah.
And the show was doing pretty well, but it needed some rewrites, and the playwright Tad Moselle was working on the rewrites. And then we go to Boston. And when we were in Boston, this is now the second day of the dress rehearsals. And I appeared in like the beginning of every act. I was the first act, had a scene, the second act, the third act. It was always like the beginning of the act. So I was able during the second act to go up to the balcony, actually the mezzanine, at the Colonial Theater in Boston, and watch this intensely dramatic scene being done by Colleen Dewhurst and another marvelous, marvelous actress by the name of Aileen McMahon. And this was like a religious experience for me. Not only was I just totally entranced by their work, but literally, and I swear to you, and I'm a devout agnostic, so I'm not a religious person, but this was like a spiritual experience. Everything around me faded. And I just felt like I was one with those 2 women on the stage. And when they finished that scene, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know it sounds crazy. I was only 8 years old, but that's what I said to myself. Because before that, I just said it was fun and all that. I had a really good time. But I literally said that to myself. This is what I must do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing to realize that at such an early age, huh?
Yeah. Now, this show was the greatest thing that ever happened in my life.
What would you say was the next biggest that really started to open up doors for you even more on a
Um,
more adult level as you're going along?
oh, okay. Well, on a more adult, you mean as an adult, or making it there? Well,
That's a fancy way of saying that. Yes.
yes, the transition to the adult career, because there was a lot of stuff in the childhood career. Um, but one of the things that really matured me was working as a 15-year-old with Judy Garland.
Mm,
And it matured me because I got to see a very seedy side of show business. While it was a total dichotomy, because on one hand, I'm on the stage and with a few other kids, and Judy's kids, Lorna Luft and Joey Luft, doing a few numbers, and that was glorious.
sure.
But on the other hand, I got to see all the hanger-ons and leeches that were leeching onto people like Judy Garland, especially Judy Garland, during the latter part of her career. This was 1967. It was only a year and a half before she died.
Yeah.
And it shook me to my core. It was, and she was having all kinds of problems. She was having laryngitis. Sid Luft was yelling at her in her dressing room, "You got to go on." She only did 3 shows. But this was, it in a way matured me. It changed my life, just witnessing all of this. And, even though as a kid, I was like a little adult from the time I was 8 years old. I guess experiencing all the brouhaha during this Judy Garland show was something that, where I said, well, this is a serious business. And it certainly has its ups and its downs.
Were you intimidated? Did it turn you off at all? Were you disappointed?
No. I was disappointed that we didn't. As a matter of fact, we were actually supposed to do 2 weeks. We were doing it like Christmas week. We were supposed to do it the following week also. So the disappointment was only doing 3 performances. But there were some sublime moments in the 3 performances that were done. There was very little rehearsal. We rehearsed a full week without Judy Garland. She didn't show up to any of the rehearsals. We did the whole Swanee number for The Star Is Born, because she had a male chorus there also. So we were all with the hats and the canes and all that, and we had it down pat. We had it perfectly, and it had to be scrapped because she was not showing up for any of the rehearsals. She only showed up for the last rehearsal, and at that rehearsal, she just was rehearsing with the band. So we were just sitting in the audience watching her. And when the rehearsal was over, she walked out into the audience where we were all sitting, and she walked over and introduced herself to each one of us, which was really nice. She was really, really nice lady. And I was shocked because I had only been seeing her from a distance, and suddenly she's right up close to me. She was 45 years old. She looked like she was in her late 60s. It was really, so when she took my hand, I was almost tearful because it's like I felt so bad for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do remember the first performance, and we didn't expect this. What happens is she did a few numbers, and then she calls out Lorna and Joey, and Lorna says, "I want to bring some of our friends out too." And we kids come out. There were like 6 or 8 of us. And I was the oldest kid, but I guess I was cast in there because I was very close in age to Lorna. So we kind of matched up well together. And we do our numbers. We did Consider Yourself. We did an original number that was written by the musical director of the show. And she gave us our own curtain call. She said, "Oh, everybody's bow," and we bowed and all that. And we're about to leave the stage, and she says, "Now, come on back here." And she had us sit at the edge of the stage. And she started to sing Over the Rainbow.
Mm.
And this was like, the audience went totally out of their minds.
Yeah.
And the incredible thing about this is she had been croaking through the entire performance because her laryngitis was that bad.
Yeah.
When she sang that song, it suddenly was like 1939 all over again.
Isn't that amazing?
Clear booming out. Yeah, it was amazing.
What an experience.
Yeah.
That's the stuff of legend, huh?
It is. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
My God. So take us through a little bit more of some of the other amazing things that have happened in your career and in your life within this crazy but amazing industry. Things that stand out for you specifically,
Things
Bob.
that stand out for me. Oh, okay. Well, I went to Hunter College for 4 years. I was a psychology major, and I did not want to be a theater major because it's like I had already been on Broadway a couple of times. I've done a lot of things, and I figured, let me learn something. And I figured, psychology is a good thing for an actor to take, even though I was not serious about going on to become a psychologist, because to learn about human motivation is really helpful in acting. But when I graduated, I said, well, I'm going right back into show business. Now, I was out of the business for several years because the Vietnam War was still going on at that time, and I didn't want to lose my student deferment. So once I graduated from college, I went right back into it. And I noticed in the years that I was sort of out of the business or out of it part-time, because I was doing some performing here and there, the business had changed a lot. And there was suddenly a new invention called the equity principle interview. They didn't have that when I was a kid.
No.
But this is something that had happened while I was in college. And the way it worked is you went on these big open calls. You had to have your equity card and all that, and you'd sign your name on there. And sometimes you would never get called in because there were hundreds and hundreds of people. And it was just an interview. Yeah. And I went to a few of these, and they were totally fruitless. But then I went on one where it was a show called the Rainbow Rainbeam Radio Roadshow. And what I didn't know when I auditioned for it is that it was literally the sequel to Hair.
Oh, wow.
Now, most of these EPIs, equity principle interviews I went on, they basically had people who were like the assistant to the assistant to the assistant to the assistant, so they meant nothing. But sitting behind the table were James Rado and his brother Ted Rado. Now, James Rado was one of the stars and creators of Hair.
That's right.
But he's kept quiet. Ted Rado did all the talking. And he's looking at my resume, this historic resume, because it's all the childhood credits, and he's looking at it. He noticed that I tap dance, and he noticed that I did like dialects and impressions. And he said to me, "Can you sing in a German accent?" I said, "Sure." I said, "You want me to do it now?" He says, No, this is an interview. I'm not allowed to listen to you sing here, but I want you to come back and audition. Pick any song you want to and sing it in a German accent. So I decided to pick I, Don Quixote from Man of La Mancha in a German accent. And of course, I added a little thing when I said, I, Don Quixote, the Lord of La Mancha. I changed it to, I, Don Quixote, the Lord of Argentina. So I got a big laugh from that, and I had several callbacks.
The other choice was going to be Ayder, right?
Right, exactly. And I wound up getting the show. So within 6 months after I had graduated from college, I got a show. And
they saw the comedic side of you, didn't they? And they liked it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the crazy thing about this show is that the script was a very loose script.
Mm-hmm.
And we were encouraged to ad lib as much as possible. Well, to me, that was like waving a red flag in front of a bull.
Yeah.
And I started ad-libbing things, and it was, being that it was, the sequel to Hair, and it was a totally nutty plot, you could do almost anything. And at one point, I basically started doing Groucho Marx, and another point, I started doing Chico Marx.
Can you do a little of that now?
Well, as Groucho Marx, I was doing a weather forecast as Groucho the weatherman, you see. It was just to be some kind of weatherman. We were on a spaceship, and I was doing the weather forecast, and I said, "There's a chance of a comet hitting the spacecraft tonight, but we'll see what we can do about that." And another thing,
Harpo would be difficult without the harp.
I didn't do the Harpo, right?
You know who loved what you just did, honoring Groucho? Our friend George Burns.
Oh my God. Another cigar-toting guy.
He's in the house. Yeah. And he loved you recognizing his friend Groucho.
Oh, well, George, Good to see you.
Good to see you too, kid.
I didn't even see your lips move when you did that.
I was going to tell you. Actually, I used to have the ventriloquist doll when I was a kid. I love ventriloquist dolls. I wish
Oh,
they would
wow.
bring that back. I used to have
Mhm.
magic sets, chemistry sets. We had ventriloquist dolls. I had the Charlie McCarthy doll.
Oh yeah, that was a famous one. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about actually getting one and adding it as an element to the Jim Master Show live.
I think you
Because
should do
when
it.
you have a ventriloquist doll, the
I'm ready.
doll, the doll can say all the things you can't.
Exactly.
And
That's
you can
it. Yes,
blame it
right.
on the doll. Now, don't say what you can't. Shh! Don't say that, Bobby. It's the doll that said it. I didn't say it.
Yeah, it can get very dangerous.
The doll. But we were writing back. The Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist doll was actually in the back of the Sears Wish book. Remember the Sears Wish book when the
Yeah, I
kids
believe I do. Yeah.
they'd circle gifts for the
Mhm.
holidays, and one time I circled like 99 gifts, and my mother said, we'll see about that. We'll see how many of the 99 you circled you'll get. But one of them was the Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist doll, and we had a great time playing with it. But we were coming back from visiting our relatives in New England, in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and riding back, bouncing around in the back seat of the car. My parents were in the front seat, and we were heading back to New York, to Long Island. And my sister got a hold of the doll. We were playing with it, and she pulled the string, which was up in the back of his suit behind you. We pulled the string that would operate the mouth a little too hard and snapped it. So here's this fantastic Christmas gift that lasted about a month with the mouth of the Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist doll stuck like that. And then I'm trying to like maneuver it and it was shot.
The doll is in shock, right?
But the doll is in shock. I think, there's a lot of those extra things that used to see a lot of illusion and magicians and ventriloquism and stuff like that I always found just cool and fascinating. And I think we should have a little more of that coming back. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. So that's cool stuff for you. I mean, you've really had amazing experiences in your career, huh? And you continue to have them. What are some things that you were working on when the pandemic hit? Was there something? Everybody I talk to, everybody I ask says, I was just about to launch this. Oh, we were just in the first weeks of that. And then they got the phone call, kaboom. How about for you, Bob?
Well, I was doing my own thing. In October of 2019, I did a couple of performances of a show called 60 Years in the Business, which is totally autobiographical. And I do it not just talking about my career, but doing musical numbers that relate to certain incidences that happened in my career. And I did two performances. I got a standing ovation, both performances. And I said, okay, now is the time to take this show and really, really promote it and try to get bookings for it. Because as you get older in this business, especially when you get to around my age, there's a lot of roles that are not happening for you anymore. Or if they are, they go to name actors. So I said, okay, this is where I can create my own work. And so I had one performance videotaped by a professional videographer, and we were talking back and forth to put like a promo reel together with scenes from the show and all that, and we were discussing it. And I was getting all of this ready, and then the pandemic hits.
That needs to be the name of a Broadway play, a book, a movie, or what have you. And then the pandemic hits.
And then the pandemic hits. Yes, right.
And hit hard.
Oh, yeah.
It was a sucker punch. Yes. And so then everything paused. And is it something that will be
came to a dead halt, right?
and is it DH, not designated hitter? Will it be coming back?
I intend for it to come back.
Yeah.
I am just waiting for things to really, really open up. There's a lot of old songs in the show. As a matter of fact, I think the most recent song in it is from 1975.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
go all the way back to like 1904. This is my final, with the last number in the show is "Give My Regards to Broadway," which I do with the tap dance
What you do
as
in the
well.
tap dance.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
you mentioned Lillian Gish.
yeah, there we are. It's me
There
and
are
Lillian
you
Gish.
as a child and the one and only Lillian Gish.
Right, that was in my dressing room
Is that
at
not
the Velasco
amazing?
Theater. Hmm.
Mhm.
There she is. Yep.
Wow.
Now you see why I had a
And
crush
you
on
had
her.
a childhood crush on her?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And she took to you, really. She sort of was like a mentor. She really
Hmm.
was like a
Yep.
guide for you, Lillian Gish, huh?
Yep. She certainly was. Yep.
So very
Great memories.
fondly remembered. We've got another one here.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is when I played Chico Marx.
Yeah.
That's Misty Rowe and Gabe Kaplan playing Groucho Marx and me playing Chico.
Oh, the Gabe Kaplan from Welcome Back,
Welcome back,
Cotter.
Cotter. Yep.
Oh yeah,
And Misty Rowe
yeah.
from Hee Haw. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, from Hee Haw, that
Hmm.
series that lasted. Buck Owens and Roy
Right.
Clark, and
Yep. Yep. Hmm.
very, very
This was a
popular.
show called Grouch. Oh, up. That's me and Mike Nichols doing the
Mike
rehearsal
Nichols,
of another show that closed in Philadelphia called A Matter of Position.
prolific producer, huh? Prolific.
Hmm. But he was just an actor back then.
He was an actor back then, right?
That's right. He was the star of the show. The show was written by Elaine May, produced and directed by Fred Coe, who I'd worked with in All the Way Home. And we closed in Philadelphia. It's basically the only show that Fred Coe did not bring to Broadway
Yeah.
because there were big artistic differences between Mike Nichols and his former partner, Elaine May.
Mm.
And both Fred Coe, the show was in pretty bad shape. It was a comedy that ran like 3 hours. You know?
Yeah.
Not good for comedies. And Elaine May wouldn't cut anything, and Mike Nichols was not happy about it, and so the show died in Philadelphia. And one of the interesting things that happened is Mike Nichols, being a big star, had his own chauffeured limousine to go back to New York.
Yeah.
They chartered a bus for the rest of us.
Hmm.
And Mike Nichols was very nice, so he came onto the bus to say goodbye to everybody. And he's talking to another veteran actor in the back of the bus. And the guy says to him, Mike, what are you planning on doing next?
Hmm.
He said, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'll try directing.
Wow.
Literally, I heard him
I
say
think
that.
I'll try directing, huh?
I think I'll try directing. And I always say, I wonder whatever happened with that. You know?
Yeah. Zoom, that took
Right.
off. My God, that took off. We have some videos here, and I
Sure.
believe they are elements of the 60 years in the business
They certainly are.
production, right? We
Mhm.
have a couple of different ones. Eleanor Roosevelt, do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Oh, yeah,
We'll
because
show it to the audience.
yeah. Where during the 1960-61 season, when All the Way Home was playing, there were two prominent people who were going to see Broadway shows. One was John F. Kennedy, the president at that time.
Yes.
He wound up not seeing our show. He went to see a little show called Camelot. Yeah. We know
Yeah.
what the meaning of that is.
Yes.
Eleanor Roosevelt came to see our show. And we knew she was in the audience, and everybody was really, really excited.
So you guys knew, the performers, everybody, the
Yep.
crew, everybody was made
Yep.
aware that.
Yep.
And was there conversation or anything afterwards, or did she come in and out quietly?
Actually, if you play the clip, you'll get the story.
It sort of tells a little bit of how it all worked, huh?
Right, yes.
God, I just can't. 60 years. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, it's a little more than 63. It's more like it's like 63 right at this point.
63 now?
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Oof.
Yep.
God bless you, Bob. That's a great run, and it continues. He's
Yep.
just getting started.
Exactly. Yes.
Here
Still
we
waiting
go.
for my first big break. Right?
So I ask people that question, and they're like, "I don't know. I'm still waiting for it."
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
So this is from that production, and
Mhm.
God willing, and the creeks don't rise, this will be resurrected. And if so, people will be able to see it at one of the theaters in New York.
Well, I'm going to try to get it anywhere I can. I probably think I would take it to different places around the country first, build up a track record, and then see if we can do it in New York.
Yeah. Imagine if you went back to the Schubert as the
That would be nice. Yes,
That
I'd
would
like
be
to do that.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, here we go. Take a look. Enjoy, everybody.
I will never forget the night that Eleanor Roosevelt came to see our show. And everybody in the cast knew she was there, and we were all so excited that by the end of the show, we were practically killing each other, getting out of our costumes and makeup into civilian clothes, running out the stage door to the front of the theater where we knew she was going to be standing there surrounded by reporters, and that's exactly what happened. And me, being one of the smallest and skinniest ones in the cast, I wended my way through this spider web of people, and I stood right next to her and I said, "Mrs. Roosevelt, I was in the show." And she looked at me and she said, "Yes, I know, and you were very good." Well, that made my life,
That was exactly what happened.
That's
It wasn't even
exactly
an
what happened.
exaggeration, right?
Oh boy, huh? That was another pinch me moment, huh?
Exactly. Yes.
Wow, wow.
A lot
That
of things associated with that show were pinch me moments.
I think we have another one too. Is it 8:45?
Yes, yes.
Tell us about this.
Well, during the show, I talk about when I got out of All the Way Home and I started auditioning again. Here I am. I'm considering myself a serious dramatic actor. I started getting auditions for nothing but musicals. And at that time, there was a show on Broadway called Wildcat with Lucille Ball, and one of the main songs was "Hey, Look Me Over." And all the kids in show business at that time sang "Hey, Look Me Over." And so I went to an audition, and in those days, all the auditions were like in Broadway theater, so you could stand in the wings and see what everybody else was doing. And I sang "Hey, Look Me Over," and every other kid was singing "Hey, Look Me Over." And I said, well, I can't have this. So I decided I wanted to get my own songs to sing, songs that I liked. And way back in when I was 7 years old, I remember seeing The Jazz Singer for the first time on television. And when Al Jolson got up and started singing, I just went totally crazy for Jolson. I loved all the emotion he put into everything, his entire heart and soul and body, and into every number, every note, every word. So I started singing Jolson songs. So in the show, I do a Jolson medley, and this is one of the numbers that I do in that.
When we come back, we'll also talk about the fact that you've done voiceovers, television work, again, The Naked City at an early age on ABC, and twice a playwright as well, which is quite amazing. You've kept busy in a very demanding business. Here is 8:45.
Already.
Or are we not supposed to play this until we reach 8:45? Because it's only 8 now. Is it okay to play before 8:45?
It's okay to, yeah, it's okay to play. Yeah. The gods will smile.
It may be only 8 p.m. Eastern here, but right now on the Jim Masters Show live, it's about 8:45.
All right.
Life begins when somebody's eyes look into your own. Life begins when you got your gal all alone. From morning until twilight, I don't know I'm alive, but I know love begins at 8:45. The stars are gonna twinkle and shine this evening about 8:45. My loving arms are gonna tenderly twine around you, around 8:45. I know I won't be late, 'cause at 8:30 I'm gonna hurry there. I'll be waiting where the lane begins, waiting for you on needles and pins, and then the world is gonna be mine this evening about 8:45.
Amazing. That was absolutely amazing. And all shoe in there as well. Tap dancing. Nice.
Yep.
Nice. So when did you learn that? How old were you when you learned to be able to do that, the tap dancing?
Well, going way back, because that tap teacher liked me so much, he would every once in a while decide, like, oh, everybody take a rest. I'm going to take Bobby by the hand. He started teaching me tap steps. And it's, he didn't
really
even charge my mom for it. He just
didn't even
he
charge
liked
your
me. So I
mom.
did. Yeah.
So he really tapped into your talent, huh?
Yep. I was never the tap dancer that my brother was, but I could hold my own. I did in my adulthood. I did several tap shows, like Dames at Sea. I did a production of that. A Day in Hollywood, A Night in Ukraine. A lot of tapping in that.
Amazing. Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah. I love
Yeah.
tap dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. What came first for you, the dancing or the acting, in terms of your true love?
I think in terms of my true love, the acting came first. As I said, when I was a little kid, when I was 8 years old, I really fell in love with literally acting. And I even mentioned this during my show that I prefer doing non-musicals to musicals because musicals are very technical. And it's not that I'm allergic to hard work, but it's a lot of hard work with, when you open up in a musical and you get to perform, that's when you're having the fun. Doing rehearsals, you're not having any fun at all. But when you're doing a non-musical, it can be a very rewarding experience. There are certain shows where I never wanted the rehearsals to end.
Right. Yeah.
Literally,
You remember those shows? What shows stick out for you?
There was one show called The Nerd by Larry Shue. I did a regional theater production of that. And from the first day of rehearsal, the director and the cast, we just were, even though none of us knew each other, we just fell in love with each other.
Yeah.
And the director was really, playing theater games with us, and she did improvs based on our characters, and we would break each other up because it was some hysterical stuff going on there. And it was so terrific. I was saying, do we have to open? Let's just keep rehearsing.
Right.
And a few years ago, I did a production. I actually done 2 productions of Laughter on the 23rd Floor, the Neil Simon show, which I consider to be Neil Simon's funniest show, even though it wasn't one of his most successful. But if you read the script from beginning to end, it is because it's about a bunch of comedy writers doing the early days of television. So it's a literally hysterical show. And I played Val, the head writer, who's Russian. So I got to do the whole show with a Russian accent. I do a lot of different accents. And this was another experience a few years ago. We did it at the Flat Rock Playhouse, and it was directed by a guy by the name of Michael Kostroff, who you may or may not have heard of, but he works a lot. As a matter of fact, he was just on SVU last night playing a lawyer.
Law and Order SVU, yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of things. He had a featured role in The Plot Against America on HBO. He had a recurring regular on The Wire for HBO. He'd done a lot of stuff. Well, he had never directed before, but he wanted to direct this production of Laughter on the 23rd Floor. And you would never have known that he had never directed before because he was so brilliant. And we were just being so entertained by each other. Yes. By Michael and the rest of us, that it's another thing where we didn't want the rehearsals to end. And unfortunately, with regional theater, you rehearse for 4 weeks and you play for 3 weeks.
Yes.
Right. And it's like our last performance, all our performances were very good. We got good reviews. The audiences loved it. Our last performance was the best one because we were actually discovering things at that point. Why can't we go another 6? Well, just these little bits that we come up with. At the end of the show, we found out the show has been canceled. This is loosely based on Sid Caesar's Your Show of Shows. So the Max Prince character, is a Sid Caesar type of character, very loud, very neurotic, very crazy. So because it's the last Christmas party that the show is going to have, and everybody is sad, and I decide as the head writer that I'm going to get totally blasted. So I'm totally drunk. So I'm having this emotional moment with Max, and he's got this cigar in his mouth. And this is something we never rehearsed, but it happened the last performance. So I'm weaving back and forth, and his cigar is going up and down at the same time. And literally, we kept this going for like 3 minutes. It's like the audience was going hysterical. You know what I mean? Because it was a bit that we came up with.
Yeah.
Because we started on the spot, and it was like electric, and we just felt it. You know, it's not something we planned. It just happened while we were performing.
It just happened.
You know?
Yeah.
It's those type of things that make it all worthwhile.
Yes. So we've been having that conversation with some of the guests recently. We've been talking about that sometimes those non-scripted, non-telepromptered, non-perfectly created moments, the ones that just come out of being and just the scenario and whatever the situation is, and you just respond to it, you can create some real beautiful gems on the moment, on the spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was one of them right there, you know. And so it's a shame with some of these regional theater productions, you rehearse more weeks than you play, you know.
Right, exactly. But you love ad lib, don't you?
I do love ad libbing. Here's another story, another crazy story that happened to me. We were mentioning Chico Marx. I've played Chico Marx like at least three different times in different shows. I was doing a dinner theater production of Minnie's Boys. And unfortunately, when I was in college, I knew about the original production of Minnie's Boys, and I wanted to audition because I could do either Groucho or Chico. But because, like I said, the Vietnam War was raging, I had a low number in the draft lottery. I didn't go to audition because if I had auditioned and gotten the show, I wouldn't have been in the show very long. I would have wound up in the army, you know, and which is not something. The jungles of Vietnam is not the same as a Broadway theater. You know? You know what I mean?
Although there might be some similarities backstage.
Well, in some ways it can be. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is like a year after I get out of college. I get a dinner theater production of Minnie's Boys where I'm playing Chico Marx, Leonard Marx, because it's about the Marx brothers.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the performance, the lights flash and a voice comes out of nowhere and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, please leave the theater quickly but calmly. We have a bomb scare." There was a bomb scare, literally. I think what happened is the theater manager was involved with the mafia. Now, this theater was in...
From biting donkeys to bomb scares. You've seen it all, Bob.
I'm telling you, right? So this theater was in a place called Higganum, Connecticut. This town is so small. You've been to Higganum? You know how small it is.
Yes.
On one side of the sign says you're entering Higganum, on the other side you're leaving Higganum.
That's it. Yeah. There was actually a governor that came from there. William O'Neill was one of the governors, and he was from there. Very rural, scenic, but very rural, tucked away town.
Exactly, yeah. This dinner theater was easily the largest structure in all of Higganum.
Bigger than the post office and everything else, yeah?
Oh, yeah, much bigger, yeah. So now we're outside freezing in the cold with whatever audience members are remaining. And the volunteer fire department, which is masquerading as a bomb squad, comes to check out the theater. Now, of course, I'm from New York, where when you have a bomb scare, you see these people you see 10 different trucks, you know, people in bomb-proof clothing and all that. They were in and out in 20 minutes and said, "No bomb, don't worry about it." So
you may continue with the production.
and literally they said, "You have to continue." The producer said, "You have to go back and pick it up from where you left off," right? So we are all sweating, even though it's November and it's like 10 degrees outside. And everybody is nervous as hell. I'm only 22 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And I figured if I'm going to die, I want to go out with a bang in more ways than one.
Yeah.
So there's this line I have as Leonard Marx, not Chico, because this is the Marx brothers. They were in Chicago, and they just bombed. They totally, this is before they started doing their
unintended
like singing group. They just totally unintended, right? They were just the worst performance they ever gave, all upset. And my line was supposed to be, "What a place to get laughed off the stage, Chicago." Instead, I came up, "What a place to get laughed off the stage, Higganum." The audience laughed for 3 straight minutes. And at the end of that performance, we got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you, do you prefer comedy or drama? What would come to your heart first?
Both.
Both.
As a matter of fact, I think the best plays are a mixture of comedy and drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen O'Neill?
Dramedy.
You know, yeah, what they call dramedy. We used
Yeah.
to call it comedy drama, but in the old days when I was
Now they shorten things even more.
Dramedy, they like to shorten things. You know, soon we're all just going to be speaking in letters and no words.
Right. When they first came out with apps, I was like, do you mean some wine and cheese? Oh, no. The app you download.
That's right.
Oh, not
Yes,
appetizer.
I'll take some port wine cheese on mine. Right.
Right. Not the appetizer.
Exactly.
There's an app for that.
Exactly.
Funny stuff, huh?
So,
we have more from the production as well. And
Okay.
a couple more clips here to entertain everybody. And let's play this one and then we'll chat about it after. It'll be a little bit of a surprise for everybody.
Okay.
Here we go. Bob Ayder doing his thing.
Was a new experience for me in more ways than one. First of all, I had never been in any kind of a show, let alone a Broadway show. But also, being a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, I knew nothing about the Catholic Church. So the second day of rehearsal, Bobby Lewis says to me, okay, in this scene, you walk over to Father Juniper and you cross yourself. I'm looking at him like, huh? He says, cross yourself. You know how to cross yourself, don't you? I said, okay. No. Go to one of the other kids. They'll teach you. We had a lot of Catholic kids in the show. Yeah. So they taught me how to do it. And I was practicing it all the time because I had never done it before. I'm practicing crossing myself. Every break in rehearsal, I'm crossing myself. During lunchtime, the whole time, I'm crossing myself. After the rehearsal's over, I'm walking to the subway, I'm crossing myself. My mother's going, would you stop? I'm crossing myself on the subway car, I'm crossing myself. 2 nuns across the way, very impressed. I'm crossing myself. We got out of the subway, and I'm crossing myself, and here comes the rabbi. I thought he was going to circumcise me all over again.
and I bless you, Bob Ayder.
Thank you.
I bless you. And don't forget, cross at the green, not in between.
Exactly. Yes.
So tell us about that clip. Everybody's enjoying it. They're getting some nice comments. Good to see all the lovelies. They're commenting, posting away. They're loving it.
That goes back to my first stage show, Juniper and the Pagans, which was about a Catholic priest who comes to this impoverished village in Mexico because their church has crumbled to ruins and everybody's lost their faith. And he was sent there to restore the people's faith and the church and all that. So, so basically that's what happened. You know, we're all Catholic in this Mexican village. And what I said there was literal. When Bobby Lewis said to me, cross yourself, I started like crossing one leg up because I had never been to a church at that point. I was from a mostly Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn. I knew nothing about the Catholic Church. So when the kids taught me how to do it, I was literally, I wanted to get it right. It's not something I was used to doing, so I was crossing myself all the time. And we were always worried because the synagogue in our neighborhood was just around the corner from the subway station. It was the Prospect Park subway station on the BMT line. And my rabbi, who was a modern Orthodox rabbi, did not approve of my being in show business because he knew I had to perform on the Sabbath and on holidays. And he did not approve at all. So when he would see my mother and I coming off the subway, and obviously we were coming from rehearsal or from a show, he was always like, had a very sour expression on his face. He didn't actually catch me crossing myself, but I assume that if he did, maybe he would have circumcised me all over again.
Oh boy.
Yes.
I don't know. I think you drama and comedy, but I think you lean a tad comedic because it's an automatic. It is.
It's
an automatic. I'm the same way. I'm always looking for a line. I'm always looking for an opening. I'm always observing life and then coming up with some sort of a way to respond to it with levity. I get that from my dad. My dad,
Yeah.
Irish, the Irish humor as well, like the Jewish humor. I think there's a lot of similarities between Irish and Jewish humor.
That's why I was
There's
wearing the green shirt tonight. I was
There's-
showing all the Irish people that you were
They're
interviewing.
the Irish lately. Yeah, there's a similarity in terms of this dry, quick wit. And then if you add in the New York, that just really solidifies it in so many different ways.
Yes.
How about for you? Your dad or your family comedic, funny people at all?
My father was not in show business as you know, but he was funny.
Yeah.
He would say certain things. He would come up with stuff like, I don't even remember specifically, but there were times when he was just I don't know if it was accidentally hilarious or just the way he expressed himself. He was was a very interesting man. He was.
What did he do for a living? What was his trade?
Well, he had two professions. He was a purchasing agent for a giftware company, but he had trained to be a lawyer. And this is something, I guess I'm going to get a little personal now talking about this, but many of the things that happened, of the frustrations in his life shaped my life.
Sure.
Because this man was literally brilliant. He passed the bar in New York the very first time at the age of 20. He was the second youngest person in the history of New York at that time to have passed the bar examination. And basically, he should have been not only an attorney, but probably a judge. And because he had a family, he had, children and, a wife to support, he decided to do something that he considered to be more secure. So besides being a purchasing agent, he was also the collection attorney for the company he worked for. And he was severely underpaid his entire life. He should have been making 4 or 5 times the amount of money he was making. So here we were, this man who was like in another big company. I mean, we probably would have been living on Park Avenue, but we were living in a dead-end street in Brooklyn. So,
but what you did with that dead-end street was amazing. So you were one of the dead-end kids.
I was one of the dead-end kids. It was me, Leo Gorsi, Hans Hall, and Laney Kazan.
In recent years, I think they softened up that wording. I mean, sometimes you'll still see that sign that says dead end. Now they just say no outlet.
No, exactly. No outlet. It's like,
when am
I going to plug it in then, for God's sake? Right?
Yeah, it sounds a little sweeter than dead end. Right. Wait, I don't see a cemetery here. That's the dead end.
Exactly, yes.
That is funny. How has growing up in New York City, in Brooklyn, where there's obviously something in the water there that has provided a lot of talent, how did that shape who Bob is?
Well, my whole thing of living in Brooklyn was escaping from Brooklyn.
That's what everybody says, right?
Yeah, the very first time when we went to that very first tap class, taking the train over the Manhattan Bridge, and both my brother and I, the first time we saw the Statue of Liberty in the distance, it wasn't that Ellis Island experience. To us, it was like the borderline between Brooklyn and the real city, which was Manhattan.
Right.
And when I remember I was like 5.5 years old, the very first time I got off the train, it was at 49th Street and 7th Avenue. And like I said, I'm an agnostic, but I believe in reincarnation because everything felt very familiar to me, like I belonged there, literally. And I just loved being in Manhattan. I think
I read when I was doing research that you were a bagel, or was it a knish before you became Bob?
That's right. No, I was a Benish, actually.
You were a Benish.
I was a Benish, right? We're having too good a time, you realize that.
You fed the line. See, you fed the line, and then I just swooped in, and I leave no fingerprints.
That's good. That's good. Because my wife wouldn't like that.
Well, all the pinching you did of yourself when you were a kid with all
Exactly.
these
I
people
still
that
have
you
the
met.
marks. Right.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have another clip here. We want to share it,
Okay.
and we'll surprise everybody. And it's good stuff. Good stuff. Multi-talented Bob Ayder here on the show. Television and film and stage veteran. 63 years in the business.
Yep.
Unbelievable. How is that when you're only 29? I don't understand.
I know, it's amazing. It's like I'm
But you
Merlin
started
aging
as the
backwards.
fetus. You did say you
That's
started
right.
as a fetus.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
you know. And here's more. Wasn't there that TV show? I forgot who starred in it. Love That Bob?
Yes,
It was a
that's
TV
Bob
series.
Cummings. Right.
Right,
Yes.
Bob Cummings. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. And his son Tony starred in, or not starred in, but was a part of a legendary soap opera. Tony Cummings was in Another World, which was
really?
filmed in Brooklyn. Remember they used to
I was
do
on
the
a
soap
couple
operas?
episodes of that. Yeah.
Oh,
The Studio M, Avenue M Studios. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, that's where they did Another World and NBC and many
I
others.
worked there several times. Yeah.
So you were on the soap operas?
I did a few, small roles on soap operas.
Which soap operas?
Mostly on One Life to Live, but occasionally on All My Children, and one time on The Guiding Light, and a couple of times on Another World. Yeah.
Another World. What do you remember the role in Another World?
I have. It's so long ago. I
Yeah.
think I was some kind of bar patron or something like that.
Were you related?
We have one or two lines.
You weren't related to Rachel and Mac Corey.
No.
Or so there you got a chance probably to see. Did you see Constance Ford, who was on that show for years? The veteran actress Constance Ford.
Yep.
She was amazing. Really, really great actress. All right, here we go. More from. I think this is Brother. Can you spare a dime?
Yes, I think that's the other one I sent you. Yep.
All right.
I'll explain it afterwards why that works in the show.
You got it. You got it, my friend Bob Benish.
They used to tell me I was building a dream, and so I followed the mob. When there was earth to plow or guns to bear, I was always there, right there on the job. They used to tell me I was building a dream, with peace and glory ahead. Why should I be standing in line, just waiting for bread? Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee doodly-dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell, and I was a kid with a drum. Say, don't you remember, you called me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember, I'm your pal, buddy, can you spare a dime? Wearing khaki suits, gosh, we look swell, full of that Yankee doodly-dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell, and I was a kid with a drum. Say, don't you remember? You called me Al. It was Al all the
That was fantastic. Fantastic,
thank
my
you.
friend.
Thank you.
Tell us about that one.
Okay, well, first of all, Brother Can You Spare a Dime, I think, is one of the greatest songs of the 20th century. It's probably one of the 5 greatest songs of the 20th century. I always loved it. The way it relates to my show, 60 Years in the Business, I literally started off with this. It's a reference to Sid Caesar. And I start out with Mesdames et Messieurs, les mototoires, les sont trottoirs, et les motos chez les pelles, Baudelaire, chez les bâtons, chez les patons, chez les baissés les toires, et les léons, pour chez les patons, chez les patins. Meine Damen und Herren, was eine sprechen Sie es gebluten, bei eins geboten, was geht, wenn Sie zur Böten, sei unter Gürten, nicht sprechen Sie Ecken, bei eins gebluten. Товарищи, друзья, братья, братья, тратья, и тратабора, Йосифский, братья, братья, Гого, What I did there
Come again?
was, this is something that Sid Caesar did. It was double talk. I'm not actually speaking the languages. And I mentioned that because I was saying that one of my biggest regrets in show business is that I never got a chance to work with Sid Caesar. But I did do 2 shows in a theater that was named after him. It was called the Sid Caesar Dinner Theater, and it had 1 season at the Huntington Playhouse in Huntington, Long Island. And I did 2 shows there, one of which was Groucho, A Life in Review, with Gabe Kaplan as Groucho, and Misty Rowe was in that also. And it was the very first time I did Laughter on the 23rd Floor. And Laughter on the 23rd Floor is mostly men. But there is 1 female comedy writer, and the female comedy writer was played by Karen Lynn Gorney, who had been John Travolta's co-star in Saturday Night Fever. So right. I knew this and all that, but someone else who was in the show said to me, "Do you know that not only was she in Saturday Night Fever, but that her father was a famous composer, and he had written the music for Brother Can You Spare a Dime?" I said, "Jay Gorney, that's right. That's the same." That's her father. I said, "Oh my gosh!" So that's how I introduce that into the show. And the interesting thing about that is I've also used it as an audition number. And I auditioned for a show for the Folksbiene Yiddish Theater back in 2012.
Oh yeah, we had Motel Didner was on our show.
Oh, you know Muddle? Okay,
yes, he was on the show.
Right.
Wonderful guy.
Well, yep, I'd auditioned for him and the director of it and the musical director. And I sang, they said they wanted a song from the teens to the 30s to the 40s. That's, So I said, I'm going to do Brother Can You Spare a Dime? Not knowing that Brother Can You Spare a Dime was actually in that show. I had no idea.
Intuitive.
Yeah. And I wound up getting the show and singing Brother Can You Spare a Dime in English, while there was a counter melody of someone singing another song that related in Yiddish. And it was like one of the high points of the show.
Unbelievable. That's amazing, huh?
Yep. So I did it in that show, that production, and I got to do it in Vienna, Austria as well. We did it. Yeah. We took it to Vienna, Austria in 2015. Absolutely
amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the little clips that we're seeing here, it's only scratching the surface of this production.
Oh, yeah.
Is this an autobiographical look at your life in the arts and entertainment?
Yes, it is. Yes, it starts out from the first act is all my childhood career, ending with the Judy Garland thing. And of course, I end that first act with Over the Rainbow. And then we start act 2 with my adult career, or actually transitioning from college into the adult career.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a 2-hour show. I gave myself a 10-minute intermission because I needed it.
An hour and 45 is just the childhood.
It could be. I'll tell you.
The hard part is editing. The hard part is not putting every single thing in.
Exactly,
it's like editing a film, a movie, a television show, a song.
Right.
The editing and paring it down. How were you able to do that? Because this is your life. So how did you know what nuggets, what did you use as your bar, as your guide to say, leave this in, they'll love this? Because of course you want things that are unique to you and your experience. You also want things that sort of those aha moments, the moments of levity, things that grab people, keep the attention through a 2-hour production. So how did you know how to sort of weave in and out of the picking and choosing of what to include?
I have to give some people credit on this, and I want to give some people credit on this. My wife, Marilyn Spanier, is a wonderful actress and has been in the business, not from the time she was a little kid, although she wanted to be. But she and I were members of a theater company called Project Rushmore Theater Company. I was thinking about, when I was around 50, a little more than 50 years in the business, of doing 50 years in the business, which I wanted to start off as a book. But I said, I want to do it along with a performance. So I started creating this show. And the first thing, the first rule that I was ruled by was, it's really a sin to bore an audience. To me, that's the ultimate sin.
True, right.
The ultimate is entertaining and enlightening at the same time.
Absolutely.
If you can't get enlightening, at least entertain.
Right.
I would see one-person shows, a lot of one-person shows about people's lives who they thought their lives were fascinating and all that, being bored to tears. I said, well, if there's one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to sing, I'm going to dance, I'm going to do impressions, I'm going to do all that, and I'll tell stories. So I wanted to start it off as an hour show.
Yeah.
And so I would literally, what happened is the theater company that Marilyn and I belonged to said, I offered this. I said, I want to do this one-man show about my career. So they assigned a director to me, 2 directors, a wonderful woman by the name of Sydney Grossberg-Ranga, who I'd worked for before, years before when I did The Nerd, and my wife, Marilyn Spanier, who were the co-directors. So I wrote these paragraphs, and the songs and all that, and I ran the whole thing for them, script in hand. And they both looked at each other and they said, not good enough. And I said, what's the problem? This is why you need other pairs of eyes and people, who are discerning. They said, the musical numbers are wonderful, but you're just like mentioning lists of shows and stuff like that. You're not giving any life. They said, aren't there, there's got to be some interesting stories that happened to you. I said, well, there's a lot. I said, but the show will be 2 hours. They said, so what? Do it. Go back and rewrite it. And I rewrote it. And suddenly it occurred to me, yes, talk about crossing yourself. Talk about, I was actually hired for the original company of Oliver. I quit it for a matter of position, which wound up closing on the road. And then I wound up doing Oliver in a theater in Kansas City in 1965, an open-air theater called the Starlight Theater. And we had a tornado scare in the middle of the thing. And I was thinking to myself, why did I quit this show in New York where I could have been worked for 2 solid years? And now I'm doing this summer stock where I'm going to get killed by tornadoes in Kansas City.
Is that in this show too?
That's in the show too.
So these things that we're hearing are elements of the show.
Right. Now I couldn't do everything. I didn't do the bomb scare because
and you didn't bring in the donkey.
I did bring in the donkey. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So
it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's literally a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard to do in cabaret. That's the thing. That's what it basically has to be done. Pretty much in a theater or in a venue where they will say, okay, it's okay to do a 2-act show with an intermission. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So. It was already on its way, right?
Yeah, and I did, I did that performance. I wanted to clean a few things up. A few years later, the theater company asked me to do another one, which I did.
What was the feedback from it so far?
The feedback was all wonderful. Every time I have done this show, whether it was 50 years in the business, or the second time I did it, which was 50 plus years in the business, or the third time when I did 60 years in the business, I got just unanimously great feedback, standing ovations each time I did it. So I know the show works. It does work.
In all these different productions that you've had an opportunity to be a part of, you also do voiceover work, and you're a twice playwright, or is it more now?
No, it's twice, unless you consider 60 years in the business.
Well, I would say,
that's my
sure.
life. Then
Yeah.
it's free. You know what I mean?
Then it's thrice.
Yeah, then it's thrice. Yeah.
Thrice.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. And do you enjoy that opportunity, the writing of the material as much as the performing of
No,
it?
I'd be very
Well,
honest.
that was fast. Did you get that, folks? That was definitive. That was no.
You write something because you need to write something, not because you enjoy writing it. Now, some people actually enjoy writing. I'm sure
Enjoy
Stephen
writing,
King must enjoy writing because he's
or
so
newspaper
prolific.
columnist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
When
Author.
my father died back in 1986, and I had very mixed feelings upon his death. I was, of course, devastated that he died, but I felt very sorry for him because he had a very frustrating life. I knew that he wanted more out of life than he got. And so I decided to write a show called Shiva, which is a fictionalized version of basically what happened. I wrote the first act of the show about 4 or 5 months after my father died. And I gave it to my dramaturg, who is my wife, Marilyn. And she read it and she said, I don't like it. I said, well, and I was writing it as a dramedy. I wanted to be, I didn't want it to be depressing. And she said, she gave me some, she said, you're too close to it. You need a distance from this. So I waited 6 full years and I looked at it and I took some elements of the first act, but I also eliminated a very annoying character in it, who we referred to in the first act, but was totally written out. And I wrote the whole 2-act show. And then Marilyn looks at it again. She says, I think this is good.
Mm.
So, she played one of the roles in it. She was absolutely wonderful. It was called Shiva. Shiva is the 7-day mourning period after someone dies.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be funny and sad at the same time. Very dysfunctional family, that type of thing. But that was the second show that I had written. What happened is that the way it got put on is I had been working with a wonderful director back in 1997 by the name of Jay Michaels. I was doing this actually it was 1998. I'd worked from the year before, but we did a show called Jason, which was written by Jeff Krell, which was based on a gay comic strip. And it was a musical version of it. And I played like one of my specialties, playing 7 or 8 different roles, in different accents and all that. And when the show wrapped up, they still had the theater for another couple of weeks. He said, I know you've written some plays. Do you want to do some staged readings of your plays? So I had written a few plays, and we did 3 different stage readings. The first one was Shiva.
Yeah.
And he liked it so much that he took it to some other people who were producing a festival at the Educational Alliance on East Broadway, Festival of Plays. And he showed them the script, and they liked it too. And we did a production of it down there. It only played for a couple of weeks, but I was produced. I mean, I was paid a big $50 in royalties. I mean, and my wife Marilyn played one of the roles, and she was absolutely marvelous in it.
Yeah.
But the first play I wrote was a play for me and Marilyn, because the frustration in my younger adult career. Because what happened is, it wasn't like magic that I went from the Rainbow Rainbeam Radio Roadshow to a whole bunch of shows. I did Rainbow, and then I did Minnie's Boys, and then for 10 years, it was a desert. And I had to support myself with all kinds of terrible survival jobs, like handing out flyers for Arby's and Burger King in the dead of winter. I did political polling. I worked for the Harris poll when Reagan was elected. I did all kinds of things. Product demonstrations, and handing out cigarettes on the street before that was verboten.
Were you also the full of brush man?
No, that would have been more fun, actually. But whenever I would go into an agent's office, and it was so frustrating, because here I hand them this resume of credits to die for, but they were all like, most of them outside of the first 2 years shows I did out of college, the rest of them were all childhood credits, but they were great credits.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're not interested in your childhood credits. I said, but it doesn't matter. I was on Broadway twice. Did all these off-Broadway, all these things. They said, no, we're sorry. And I would get angry at them. I'd say, you know what? I said, okay. I said, you would rather, send somebody out on auditions who had absolutely no experience as long as they were the right type. And said, yeah, you got that about right. But here's what we'll do for you. When you get into a showcase, let us know and we'll come and see it. This is what I was getting all the time. And I said, and showcases basically, especially back then, even though Equity approved them, you worked for nothing. You usually took 2 months out of your life and worked for nothing. And as much as I love acting and I love it and I'm dedicated to it, I consider it a profession.
Yeah.
And you don't go to your surgeon and say, if you cut out my appendix just right, I'll let you go for my heart next time.
Right.
No, you got to pay him. You know what I mean? You
You've
cut
gotta
out your
pay.
appendix and you have to pay him. That's it.
Right.
So I kept getting this from agents, and I said to Marilyn, I said, let's do something for our careers. I'm going to write an original show for the two of us. It was also a comedy drama, and I called it Stop Time. And we did this way back in 1983. We were the producers. We did everything. We were producers, the stars of it. We had a friend of ours direct it. We had to raise money from every friend we had, every relative we had, small amounts of money to be able to do it in a really, really small theater, which was located over a dance studio in a building, 50-seat audience.
Better above than below.
Yeah. And it was, and I just came up with this play called Stop Time, because one of the gimmicks in it is that the characters could snap their fingers and stop time and talk to the audience.
Right.
So I call it Stop Time. And the trouble was that, all our opening night was a big sensation because we had all our investors there. People had given $25 and $50 and stuff like that. And they absolutely, so it was a full, there was a full house. It was 50 people now, but we had no advertising budget. So our biggest audience after that was like 15 people. But of course, not
10 of which were relatives.
That's right. Not one agent showed up. All those agents, and I told all of them 150 times, here's the show, here's the schedule. You get in for absolutely nothing because you're an agent.
Watch it. Right.
Agent, not one showed up. No, but I had a play.
But you had, right.
And people liked it. And matter of fact, there was one person who was thinking of producing it but backed out. And Marilyn and I decided we were going to produce it ourselves to try to do it as a regular off-Broadway show.
Yeah.
And we went through 2 years of hell of doing backers auditions, and we actually got pledges from 2 investors, but that was not enough. So after a couple of years, they just shelved it. But so that was the first production, and Shiva was the second production, and I guess 60 years is the third.
Is the third. And do you see more? What's on the horizon for you beyond this? I mean, what are some other things you still would like to tackle and do? I mean, 63 years, you've done so much and have worked with so many different people in so many different scenarios, whether it's television, film, stage. What else is still out there that Bob is inching to get involved in and have a piece of?
I want to get back to working. I love performing. I love
That's a plus.
And performing.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I want the business to open up again. I want to be able to perform in front of a live audience again. Playwriting, I sort of dried up with playwriting. I started several plays. I'm my own worst critic. If I don't like what I'm writing, it goes, and then I shelve it and all that. It's possible I could suddenly get an inspiration and say, I've got to write this, I as you mentioned in the blurb, I actually wrote a novel. Actually, it's not new. I wrote it about 10 years ago. But I decided to try writing a novel. And actually, this is way back more than that. I started writing it in 2000. I wrote the first chapter, and then I said, okay, this might be okay. I put it away. I put it away for 6 years.
A lot of people do that when they're writing something. Yeah.
And then 6 years later, I looked at it and I said, this first chapter is not so bad. I like these characters. I'm going to keep writing it. Then I wrote like, at a rapid clip, and I came up with this novel called Reflection of Evil, which is a paranormal novel. It is paranormal horror. There's all kinds of things in it. There's alternate dimensions. There's alternative history. It's like a wild leap into imagination.
Are you trying to make a statement with this book? Is this as a result of the 63 years of the business? Paranormal.
No, I think the state. Well, I'm very interested. I get very philosophical at times about the nature of life and why we're all here, and the nature of time.
I do.
And even though I'm not a physicist, I'm fascinated by theoretical quantum physics. Alternate universes, and like I'm doing this show with you right now, but the other Bob Ayder, in the 11th dimension, he may be doing something else. He may not even be an actor. He could be a insurance salesman. Who knows? I would hate to think he's an insurance salesman, but
Affleck.
That's right, Affleck.
You do voiceovers, right?
I wish I did do a lot of voiceovers because there's actual money in that.
Yes, there is. Do you have a studio at your house?
Field. I'm not technologically set up to do a voiceover studio here. I just don't have the equipment for it. Yeah. I've done recordings though. Marilyn and I both. What is that? Sorry.
Corporate work as well.
Well, I've done corporate videos. I've done for different companies. I've done live corporate shows too. I did for like Shearing Plow and
good dollars in those. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course, those don't happen much anymore either because it's mostly in-house now.
Well, now there's this whole talk about look at all of these massive convention centers sitting empty.
Yeah.
And now people are starting to say, well, we can do the same thing online and nobody has to fly and there's no expense.
Exactly,
there's no hotels. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. You can get everybody together online. Nobody has to even start their car.
Right.
So that's a whole other shift as a result of this pandemic and everything that's going on, which then sort of trickles down to the revenue lost with the convention centers, the hotels, the restaurants, all the car rental company, all the things that are tied to all of it. So
exactly,
it's been a monumental shift in our lives. And now we're seeing it with the result of automobile purchasing is tough because new cars and used cars are extraordinarily expensive and limited. The cost of a lot of things through the roof. And there's a scarcity of a lot of products and goods as a result, the computer chips and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, talk about alternate universe. We're in one now.
I think we are in an alternate. I sometimes wonder. I mean, I really actually wake up sometimes saying, am I in this reality? Am I in right now?
Even with it getting better and the light at the end of the tunnel and everything that's happening, something's different, isn't it? There's still something that's a little...
Yeah. Well, we're not fully back yet.
Off-putting or something. Yeah. It just doesn't feel fully plugged in, or just something's a little... Well, now you also see all of the acting out and, the violent reactions and things that are happening on a day-to-day basis, which is an awful thing to see too. I keep saying on the show so many times that I'm hoping that we rise from the ashes of everything more unified, more empathetic, more compassionate, and more collaborative, because we really need each other. The world prefers to spin on its axis when it's balanced and when we're all unified and together. And maybe
that's
what's happened was a message delivered from an alternate universe telling us, hey, you better shape up, because you may think you're in control, but you're really not. We can pull the plug on this whole thing in a second. So here's your one shot to make it right, to make it right. Sort of feels like that, huh?
It does. It's a very strange time. It's every day since this pandemic started has felt strange.
What have you learned about yourself during it all, Bob?
Well, what I have learned about myself is some things I don't like. What I learned about myself, I have been very in a state of discontent quite a lot during this pandemic. I am so itching to get back in front of a live audience that I'm feeling like half alive when I'm not. It's not a great feeling. Thank God I do have a sense of humor, and I can make myself laugh sometime, and I make my wife laugh, and a lot of times when things are at their worst, is when you can be the funniest. It's an escape valve.
A lot of comedy has come out of, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Rough childhoods and all kinds of different
Right, exactly.
things. Yeah. So you've tried to make the best of everything through comedy and through hanging in there. It does look like things are starting to point in the right direction. Just there's a lot of adjustments, especially in the arts and the theater world. They really have to figure out seating and ventilation systems and all those different things that they never, especially the older houses, the older production facilities and venues and beautiful stately theaters all of a sudden now become difficult because of the age and the construction. So there's a lot. Most people, believe it or not, that I've talked to, that I know personally, colleagues as well as friends, some family, they're still doing, even though they're double vaccinated and everything's good in that, and they're okay and everybody's healthy. God bless everybody, but they're still treading lightly a little bit. Still treading lightly.
Me too.
Still putting masks on in certain places, post offices and Walgreens and other types of things. And I still do it too. And I was at the dentist a week ago, and the nurse who was there, who was signing me in, it was a whole other thing. You step out, you can't even go right in the door. You buzz, you have to buzz. Then they say, "Is it you, James?" "Yes, it's James." And they say that through the door without the door being opened. And then they open the door, and then you go in a little cubby area before you can even go into the normal waiting room area or into the, and it's like a common thing now. And then they sign you in, they take your temperature, masks are on. And she had recognized me from television and said, "Oh, you're Jim." And the whole thing. So we had got into a good conversation, and we had met years ago at some event. And she started talking about, the masks and everything. And she had said that, slowly it's coming off, but in the medical facility, they still have them on, and which makes sense. And she was talking about how she's having it's a difficult adjustment for her because she's so used to physically having the mask on that now taking it off, she feels naked, she feels open, vulnerable. It's an adjustment period to actually just take this thing off that you've had on daily for a year and a half or whatever it's been. So that was interesting to hear a nurse actually say that in that open way, that even she's had a difficulty in adjustment. It's taking time for her to adjust to it. How about you?
Oh yeah, it's taking time for me too. A couple of times I walked outside with the mask under my chin. Yeah. Because I have been vaccinated fully. Actually, I was pretty early vaccinated. I had my second vaccination in the middle of February.
Yeah.
Because I had so much time on my hands, I was able to hit the computer and for 3 straight days. Got myself an appointment. It was, finally, it was very rough. But yes, when I'm outside, even though I know I'm fine, being outside especially, I felt a little weird.
Yeah.
And of course, if I go inside any place, doesn't matter. I'm putting the mask on, even if they say you don't need to.
Yeah, you're still doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still doing that. We finally ate out in a outdoor restaurant for my my mother-in-law's 97th birthday.
Oh, God bless her, huh?
Yeah.
She probably's been like, "I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime," what we've gone through in the last year, huh?
Yeah, well, she's confined to the house and all that. So it was nice to get her out, and
absolutely,
and it was nice to go out. It was the first time in 14 months that we had gone out to a restaurant.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, like Jen Barry says, got to keep laughing. Gotta keep laughing. Yes. Jane, who's watching live in Sweden, says, "Bob, you make a lot of people laugh."
Well, I'm glad. In Sweden, do I make them laugh?
She's in Sweden, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't even speaking Swedish. I mean, I can just yeah. I don't know what I just said to her. I hope it wasn't.
That sounded like a record going backwards.
Yes. Not even a Beatles album, but
Not even a Beatles. It sounded like that is fun. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh.
Oh yeah, yes.
So again, you fed the straight line, so I grabbed it.
Right. Okay.
You were, and she loves it. Say she loves it. Smile, smile, smiles, and with love from Jane is
great.
watching late night. It's already tomorrow in Sweden.
That's right.
She's up. Many of them come from. We have an international audience as well, and June, our dear friend June. Bob, I'm living in Maryland
June.
now. So great to see you.
Hi, June.
She's in Maryland now. Yes, she's fled the big city for the pastures of Baltimore. So you're loving the ride. You're loving all of this, aren't you?
Especially when I get back to it. I am dying for that first day of rehearsal. I really am.
Maybe you should switch out the word dying for longing.
Yes, that's pretty good. Yeah, during this pandemic, I am longing.
I'm longing to go back to the stages and to the studios.
Poor choice of words. Right?
I was going to say, Jane
3
in Sweden,
a.m.
where she is in Sweden.
3 a.m.
Stockholm.
And you're up? Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's the Jim Masters Show live. They want to be here live. You are
know hot,
how,
my friend. You are hot.
You know how live is, right? There's nothing. I've had years of live television, live radio, live stage, and I absolutely, positively love it. There's just nothing that tops it in terms of, I've done a lot of scripted work and teleprompter and all of that, which you do, but just something about when it's live, even with this show, some people say, oh, what are you going to ask me? And can I see questions first? And I say, well, it's not really, it's conversational. It's warm. It's freestyle. We'll go meander in and out of a lot of different areas of life and topics and make connections as we go along. And so don't fret, don't worry about it. And it's not a 60 minutes interview. It's conversational.
You're not morally safer, right?
Right. It's conversational. And, we just take it from there. And Jane says, yes, must see Jim and his guests. So that's why she's up at 3 a.m. in beautiful Sweden. Dedication there.
You must drink a lot of coffee. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. That's it, I tell you. So you're loving the ride. What are some of those additional blessings and joys in your life, Bob, as you look back?
Well, my wife is my main blessing. I mean, she's the love of my life. We have been married. She's going to kill me for saying this, but we've been married 40 years.
40 years. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Juanita is in South Africa, where it's also tomorrow. She goes, who needs sleep? Yeah.
Hey, what the heck?
She's so dedicated to the Jim Masters Show live that they had floods recently in South Africa, and she was walking through like knee-deep water looking for a good Wi-Fi connection so she didn't miss our show. That's dedication.
Wow. That's
dedication.
Total dedication. Wow. You could start a religion right now, I'm telling you.
It's the Lovity movement. It's the Lovity movement. The world needs it. Lovity, sweet. Was it the world needs now is Lovity, sweet Lovity.
Lovity, that's right.
Levity and love put together ended up being Lovity. So you're loving it. And as you mentioned, your wife, and what is when you look back at 63 years of doing this,
wow.
You great blessing and joy, the ups, the downs,
yes, there's
not every day is perfect.
The ups are nice, the downs are not nice, but
but you're still doing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, because I've been writing my autobiography now for the last God knows how many years. But I recently finished it, and I kept taking the introduction and changing it.
Yeah.
I started it back in 2006 when I was 2 years away from my 50th year in the business, where I was going to call it 50 years in the business. And I wrote this really bitter, angry introduction. I said, oh, that's no good. I threw it away.
How did it first? What was the first line?
The first line is when I did my first show, Eisenhower was president. Computers, there were no such things as PCs. They were mainframes that took up entire rooms in the largest corporations.
Right.
And Nikita Khrushchev was scaring the heck out of the good old USA. It's something like that. I
So
kept that line.
basically, when I was 17, it was a very good year.
Hey, you. That's right. But one of the things that I settled on, I related an incident that happened to me probably in the very early 90s. Probably was like 90, 91, something like that. Up at Actors Equity on the casting board, there was a open call for a theater in Connecticut. It was like suburban Connecticut. I don't know if it was Greenwich or Westport or something like that, for a small equity theater up there. And basically,
Probably the Westport
idea
Country
was-
Playhouse.
I don't think it was that, but it was some other theater, but it was an equity theater.
Yeah.
And so I took the Metro note, but you had to audition at the theater. And I said, this is fine. I don't mind doing that because I want to do a real audition, not one of these fake ones, you know?
Right.
I knew up there it's going to be real. You know what I mean?
It's
If
going to be
I'm
the real
coming up
deal.
there.
Yeah.
So I take the Metro North, and of course I need a cab now to get to the theater. So I hail a cab, and the cab driver start, it's like most cab drivers do. They start conversations with you.
Yes.
So she said, what was a male cab driver? And he said, so you're heading to the theater over there, right?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm afraid the box office is closed. I said, well, I'm not going to box office. I'm going to audition for something. And this cab driver said, and this is something basically I saw red. Oh, you're an aspiring actor. I went out of my mind. I started reading this guy, my whole resume, talking that I had worked with Judy Garland and Lillian Gish and all that. I was on Broadway. I was on all them, but it didn't penetrate.
No.
Because the only thing that he had in his mind is, it's got to be a familiar household name, otherwise you're not an actor.
Right. You had to be Jack Lemmon or something, right?
Right, to be Jack Lemmon or, Jack Nicholson or some other Jack, whatever. Jack the Ripper, who knows? But
Jack Klugman.
and one of the reasons I'm writing this book is not just for other actors, it's for people who are not actors to explain, no, these people that you see on Law and Order doing 4 or 5 lines are actors. They are professional actors.
Yes, they are.
They are not aspiring actors.
No, they're there. Yeah. Right.
And, I've had leads and I've had 1 or 2 lines. I'm an actor when I'm doing a lead, and I'm an actor when I'm doing 1 or 2 lines.
That's right.
I'm still an actor.
You're still there. You're still on
what
set.
I call it is identity. What makes an actor is the identity. When I went through 10 years of barely doing any work as an actor whatsoever, the thing that sustained me was my identity as an actor.
Yes.
That's what sustained me, knowing that I am an actor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I didn't work in 3 years, I am an actor.
Do you have a favorite role? Do you have a favorite? Is there maybe 1 or 2 that just are near and dear to your heart that when you look back at it, you're like, I loved being involved in that?
Yes, there are several. There's one I will mention. I was mentioning this director, Jay Michaels, who I worked with back in 1997. And this was a small off-Broadway show called Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda. And I played a character by the name of Bobo. And basically, this was an adult who had the mind of a 9-year-old. So he was developmentally disabled or intellectually disabled. And I remember the first couple of days of rehearsal, I was like searching for this character. I was doing like this weird voice and all that. I almost sounded like Jerry Lewis, And the director took me aside and said, don't play this part as if you're an adult who has mental problems. Play this part like you're 8 or 9 years old, like you're literally 8 or 9 years old. And it just went like that. And everything snapped into place immediately. And I fell in love with the character that I was playing. And because I did, the audience did too. I remember like the opening night, we got a really nice hand, and somebody, when I came out to take my curtain call, stood up and yelled, Bobo, Bobo, Bobo. And it was like, oh my God, I've connected with these people. I have connected with the audience,
Yes, which is a beautiful thing when that happens. That's beautiful when that happens, right? When you connect with that audience, and there's
and this play was a combination of comedy and very deep drama.
Yes.
And it was like, it was one of them, even though it was for an audience of like 99 people, it it was like the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life as an actor.
Unbelievably fantastic, huh? Mm.
Yep.
That's one that stands out. What would be a role that was the closest to who Bob Ayder is? Was there one where you really identified with the character and there were essences of you that were weaving in and out of that character?
Not really. I mean, it would be 60 years in the business because that's about me. But no, I like being different people. I like being somebody I'm not. It's good to get away from yourself. And that's where the acting comes in. One of the old adages that I really despise is you can't fool an audience. Well, what is acting after all? The audience wants to be fooled. You are fooling
they want
an
to be
audience.
transported to another place and time, right?
Exactly. You are fooling the audience. If I'm playing, I'm not a lawyer. I played one on Law and Order. You know what I mean? On Unsolved Mysteries, I had a lead role of a Hasidic rabbi who was wanted for bank fraud. The only thing that was in common with me and the character I played is that he was Jewish. That's the only thing. I'm not a Hasidic rabbi who's wanted for bank fraud.
And you didn't do bank fraud, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's like,
make sure you mention that part.
The idea is to fool an audience. Now, the thing that irks me, I like to talk about things that irk me too. I mean,
and that's your next play.
What
things that irk Bob.
Things that irk me, Bob. Right? That's right. The origin of the irk. Right? Let's look in our laboratory now as we see the origin of the irk. The irk was invented back in 35 BC.
Well, you know what the new BC is, right? That's been updated. It used to be before Christ, but now it's before COVID.
That's right, before COVID, right?
Anything, when people say, well, before COVID, well, they just say BC. It's been updated.
The thing I was talking about fooling an audience is, and this is not to insult audiences because it is not their job to discern, what quality is.
Right.
I have noticed that audiences are perfectly satisfied with mediocrity, as long as it's professional mediocrity. But what I think a lot of people do not realize is that a truly great play or great performance, they recognize.
Yes, right.
They recognize it. They recognize that something special has just happened to them.
Yes, yeah.
It's like when I was lucky enough when I was in All the Way Home to see an Actors Fund benefit of another show that was running at the time called The Miracle Worker.
Oh, sure.
And when I saw that show, I'm saying, wow, this is incredible. And I'd seen a lot of different shows, because I had a chance to do that back then. I got to see, this is really going to make me sound old, but I got to see the last dress rehearsal of the original production of Come Blow Your Horn, Neil Simon's first play.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you saw the Red Sea parted.
I did see the Red Sea part, it's right. I did.
Not the Charlton Heston version.
That's how far I go back.
That is funny. What advice would you give to somebody watching live right now? Or a lot of people like to binge watch our episodes later on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And again, we encourage everybody to continue watching us. We're here 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our pop-up shows and our daily episodes of JMS Live. But if somebody is watching and they're considering getting their toes dipped into that lake of this kind of career and this kind of work. A lot of people say, well, have a backup thing that you want to do. Always have that backup thing in case it doesn't work out. And you have to really, really, really love it. If you're going into any of these kinds of industries, you have to really, really love it because there's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, rejection, failure, all kinds of crazy things like wild biting donkeys. I mean, there's going to be all these things that you don't expect and that they didn't tell you about. Donkeys, right? And and I'm talking about the two-legged ones, not the four.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is what happens to me a lot. I've done a lot of regional theater. Now, regional theater by definition is not for profit.
Right.
which means you got to give something back to the public.
Yeah.
A lot of times what you do is you wind up doing a very early morning performance, like
Yeah.
9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock for school children.
Right.
And then you do a question and answer. And I usually stay pretty quiet during these things, because I know they're not going to want to hear the answer to the question that I always get, but they get the answer anyway.
What's the question? They
The
always
question is, I want to get into show business. Should I get into show business? And I say, no.
Yeah, right. No.
And they go, no?
No.
I said, that's right. Absolutely not. Now, having said that, if you still need to be in show business, if it's the only thing in your life that you can imagine doing, don't listen to me. Go ahead and do it.
Right.
You don't need my permission to go into show business. But to be perfectly frank with you, acting is wonderful. Performing is wonderful. Show business is one of the worst businesses in the history of creation. It is the most anti-democratic business out there. The top 10th of 1% get most of the work. If you're going into this business to become famous, forget about it. It's not going to happen. Becoming famous from being in show business is like winning the lottery.
Right. And
That's
a lot of people say you shouldn't go into it for those reasons either.
Definitely not.
Don't go into it for fame. Go into it, if you do, for the true love of it, because you really, really have to love of it and want to do it.
Exactly.
Which you do.
Yes, I do. That's what sustained me all these years, because there's been a lot of very long periods of frustration, a lot of disappointments. There's been a lot of things where there was that little thing that could have pushed my career over the edge into something bigger. I don't even mean stardom. I just mean working consistently.
Was there ever a role or a production that you really wished that you had been in, that either the timing wasn't right or it just didn't work out? Or
well, yeah, I referred to it before, the very original production of Minnie's Boys back in 1969. When Louis Stadlin played Groucho, and the show wasn't even successful, but I would have loved to be in that show.
Yeah.
And there are still roles that I want to do, that even though I'm getting up in years, there's some actually that will open up for me eventually. Is I'd love to play Henry Drummond in Inherit the Wind. I love that play.
That would be a great one. Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Never say never.
No, I definitely would never say never. One of the big frustrations of my life is that I've always wanted to play Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. And I've auditioned a couple of times, and gotten very good. I remember auditioning one time for a summer stock version of Fiddler on the Roof, where they wanted me to sing the entire If I Were a Rich Man, which is like 7.5 minutes. It's like doing a soliloquy, right? And I sing it, and I sing the heck out of it. And the guy I'm auditioning for says, "That is the best rendition of this I have ever seen and heard in my life. That was absolutely marvelous." I didn't even get a call back. After hearing that, I did not even get a call back. This is what show business
Found out later that he was deaf?
No, it turned out that he pictured somebody else doing it. A lot of times I run into this where they think that Tevye's got to be big and enormous. He's got to be like in Yiddish we would say a bulvan.
Very much.
And the fact is that even in the original, but in the original production of Fiddler on the Roof, Zero Mostel was there for about a year, and it ran on for another 9 years with a host of other people. Herschel Bernardi was, I think, the second one to do the role, to great acclaim. He was about 5'6" and weighed about 120 pounds, dripping wet. And he was a convincing Tevye. You do not have to be a particular type, but people get these pictures in their heads.
They do. They do. They do.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, this has been really amazing, Bob. We've chatted for over 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Wow.
And just so you know, just to let you know, sometimes the impact that a conversation as rich as this has been can make on the lives of others. Jane in Sweden at 3 a.m. says, "When I go to bed, I'll probably dream of the donkey.
I often do. I'll do that.
That I tell you, see that you're making an impact of everything we
Right.
talked about tonight. The donkey
It's the donkey.
running wild
Yes.
in the studio, trying to bite people because it drank water in Philadelphia. That
The
just
immortal
like,
donkey. I think that's going to be the name of
that's
the
going
next
to
play.
be.
Right.
Juanita in South Africa says this was an amazing conversation. Thank you, Bob, for
I've got to
spending
play
time
Sweden
with
and South
us.
Africa. That's the thing. That's going to do it for my career. You know.
That's right. And sharing your great stories and wonderful career, had some great laughs. Absolutely. Bob, I hope this show met whatever expectations you had and that you enjoyed your time with me as
I
much
loved
as
it. I loved
I
it.
have with you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. So we'll keep watch for that resurrection of or reincarnation of the play. And that'll be really cool. Keep me posted on that. I'll let everybody know.
I will. I definitely will.
And spread the word about our show. And
I will do that too.
And this was really a true pleasure. You've been doing it for a long time. June, of course, goes yay. And Sherry Larson says, what wonderful stories. Thank you. Jen Barry in Pennsylvania says, such a fun night. Mary Bishop in Florida says, this was great. Thanks, Bob. Good stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Mary's in Florida. Amazing. A wonderful career, a wonderful gentleman, class act, and a pleasure. And Jane in Sweden says, thanks, Bob and Jim, for a hilarious night. We aim to please. Levity and lovity on the Jim Masters Show Live. Bob, a pleasure. And stay in touch. Hopefully in the city, we'll meet in person, break bread. That would be fantastic.
That'd be great.
I would love to do that. And you're welcome back anytime. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well.
Well, that's good. That's right.
And now I say to all the guests, go stretch those legs.
I'm going to do that. Yes.
And get
We're going out for a walk right now.
Go out for a walk and grab a bite to eat or something. And truly, it was a real pleasure, my friend. And I hope
thank you.
You enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did. I loved it.
It was a pleasure. You be well, okay? You take care and stay healthy, and we shall see you again soon.
Okay, great.
Here in Lovety Hall.
I love it.
Take care, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Bob Ayder, the amazing 63 years in the business. Isn't that amazing? Great stories, too. I know everybody still loves the donkey story. Can you imagine a loose donkey that's aggravated because the water was not so tasty and trying to flipping out? And it sounds like an episode of I Love Lucy or something, and she's trying to keep the donkey under control, and it starts to flip out in the studio and wants to bite everybody because of something was in the water in Philly. What great stories. And that's just a little snippet of his career and his life. And he does that amazing show that, again, I can't wait to go see it now that I have heard snippets of it. And what you saw tonight, those videos are just little snippets of the story of his life and his career. 63 years. God bless him, huh? Truly amazing. We loved it, and hope you guys loved it as well. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, of course, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content. That also helps our show and our series big time when you subscribe to the channel. Really, really does. Allows us to be able to deliver more great content and extensive conversations. We don't rush through. We really have a good time. We always learn something. Lots of levity. It's a cool place to come. The Jim Masters Show Live, and it continues to grow by leaps and bounds, and it's a pleasure. And we have great guests like Bob Ayder on the show, who has actually been a big fan of the show. He's commented, he's liked, I think he's in our Facebook group, JMS Live Lovety Hall, and he is always clicking like on things, and he's been following along with our series, and he really enjoys it. So now he was a guest on it, which took it to another level. It was really terrific. So I hope you enjoyed it and you appreciated the levity and the conversation tonight. And want to let you know, we got a couple of cool things to show you real quick. Tomorrow night, we've got an amazing guest, a dear friend of mine, Broadway veteran, as well as actor, singer, songwriter, and co-creator of Rocktopia. Rob Evan is with us at 7 p.m. Eastern 4 p.m. Pacific Live. He's all excited. We're all excited as well. And as a matter of fact, he's so excited about coming on the show tomorrow. I've interviewed him on PBS, but he's so excited about coming on the show tomorrow. He made a little video for it, sharing his excitement.
Hey guys, it's your old friend Rob Evan. Hoping you'll join me this Saturday, June 5th at 7 p.m. when I'll be live on the Jim Masters Show, talking all things Broadway, Rocktopia, the music industry. I'll be teasing some projects that I've got in development, and then also just shedding some light on this crazy year and a half that we've all had. Wow. I hope you'll join us. The information should be in the copy below. Come by, maybe sing a song or two. All right? Hope to see you there.
Yes, that's tomorrow night on the Jim Masters Show Live. Then on Sunday, John Davidson. Yes, the one and only John Davidson is going to be with us. You know him as the prolific game show host, Hollywood Squares, the show That's Incredible, and so much more. His own talk show series, The John Davidson Show, which he did for years, interviewed celebrities and so much more. Singer, songwriter, actor, comedian. He does it all. He lives in New Hampshire with his wife, and he has a wonderful venue there called Club Sandwich, which is in Sandwich, New Hampshire. He's a guest right here on the Jim Masters Show Live coming up on Sunday, which is going to be amazing. Then guess what? On Monday, we have another amazing guest. Veteran television, film, and stage actress Sharon Garrison is going to be with us here on the show. Sharon Garrison. She's an amazing television, film, and stage actress. She's with us coming up on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and we're really looking forward to that. She's all excited. She can't wait to be here. As a matter of fact, she just sent us this video about her appearance coming up Monday.
Hey there, Jim Masters, and all you Jim Masters Show Live fans out there. I am really looking forward to joining you next Monday, June 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. My name is Sharon Garrison. I'm an actor, acting coach, director, and producer based in Dallas, Texas. I hope you'll join me, and let's talk about getting back into the theater to see a movie or see a play. See you then.
It's going to be amazing. Sharon joins us on Monday here on the Jim Masters Show Live. We're really looking forward to that. Guess who's with us on Tuesday? Hollywood legend Ruta Lee. Ruta Lee is with us on Tuesday. Ruta Lee has done just about everything you can do. And you know what? On Tuesday, she's going to be live from Mexico. She's at her Mexican villa. There she is in Hollywood getting her Walk of Fame star there. But Ruta Lee is actually going to be with us. She's been in everything you can think of over the years. She's going to be with us, and I look forward to that. Then on Wednesday, comedian and entertainer Al Ernst is going to be with us. That's going to be amazing. Live from Canada, brilliant actress, singer-songwriter. She starred on Broadway in Dear Evan Hansen. Steph La Rochelle is going to be with us. Oh, yeah. And again, we're just really scratching the surface of the guests we have coming on the Jim Masters Show Live. You can see all the rest on our YouTube channel. Just scroll through. You can see some of the other guests that are coming up. We sort of upload the shows in advance, so you can see some of the cool folks. And even when we don't have a guest, which has now become a rare thing, we're booked. There's even a waiting list. Marion Ross is coming on our show too, who starred as Mrs. Cunningham, of course, and Happy Days. And Eileen Graff is coming on. She was in the 80s series Mr. Belvedere on ABC. Juanita says, love the video previews. Yes, I do too. And Kathleen says, looking forward to all your amazing guests. See you tomorrow. Have a great night, Jim. You as well, Kathleen. Jen Barry says, thanks, Jim. You as well. Dear friend June Rachelson Aspa there in Maryland says, night all. You as well, June. And Mary Bishop says, another fabulous night in the Loveday Hall, of course. Thanks again, Jim. Good night, everyone. You as well, Mary. And good night all from Sherry Larson. And of course, nighty night, Jim, from Jane, who's up at almost 3:30 a.m. in Sweden. And MRJP Machida says, Bob, what is your dream role one you haven't played yet. Your dream role that you haven't played yet. What is that role?
What is that role? Okay.
I figured while you were still there.
Yes, Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman.
Oh, what a good one, huh?
Yep.
There is your answer, MRJP Machida. Now they will be able to sleep easy with that answer tonight.
Right.
Boy, you were there. You thought on the fly. You grabbed the mic. You swiveled quickly in the chair to face the camera.
Did. That's right.
That is spot on.
You got to be on your
friend.
toes in this business.
You got to be on your toes. You never know when that red light goes on and the camera's on. You got to be there and do something. Great way to wrap. Have a good night, my friend.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Thanks for sticking around.
No problem.
Okay. Thanks again. That was terrific. That is really, really funny. I knew that he was still there. I could see him in the bottom of the screen there in the queue window. So I said, well, we might as well. No, I have never ridden a donkey, but I have ridden an elephant. I was, for one night, for a television station I was working with, I was the co-master of ceremonies with the Clyde Beatty and Cole Brothers Circus. And I was dressed up in the tuxedo and I was representing the television station. It was like TV 26 night at the circus. And they asked me to ride in on an elephant. And it's a little bit different on an elephant than it is on a horse or probably even a donkey, because you're like hanging on to nothing but the flapping ears of the elephant. I have some pictures of that. That was a really cool thing. And then they took clips of that and they had it on the 10 o'clock news on the TV station that I was working with. Yes, that was an encore with Bob. That was a Bob encore. Absolutely. You guys are the best. Thanks for being with us again. We've got great guests coming up. Lots of levity, lots of levity. I know you want to see the chair. There's the chair. Okay. Everybody likes to see the chair that the guest was in. There's the chair and Bob with the chair. People love to see the guest's chairs, Bob. You've got a nice chair. That is a fancy chair. So Juanita can sleep tonight and all the rest can sleep because you got a chance to see the guest's chair. So many times that we've ended up seeing chairs when the guests have had to get up and grab something like a glass of water, or their earbud batteries die out, or their laptop batteries die out, or their phone batteries die out, or they run to the shelf to get the Grammy or the Oscar or the Emmy. Or the book or whatever it is. So you get to see the chair. You want to see it one more time? There it is. There's the chair. He's not the chairman of the board. He's the chairman of the Bob. Chairman of the Bob. All right. Yeah, that looks like a comfy chair, doesn't it? Very comfy chair. Christine Clifton in North Carolina says tonight was an interesting conversation with Bob. Incredible stories. Enjoyed hearing more details of his career. The video clips were great too. Night, Jim and all. You as well, Christine. If you guys missed the epic show we had last night with legendary and renowned Grammy-nominated pianist Dino Kartanauskas, the wonderful Greek entertainer, American heritage, but Greek heritage, American-born Greek heritage. Legend in the business. Dino was amazing. So much music. He played live. We went through the memories with him. It was fantastic. If you missed that episode, check it out. That episode and all 400 plus are available on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here for you on the Jim Masters Show Live. Good night.